What's up, B? What's going on? It's a special day today. I got my man D Harp in the building.
He
I
is.
can't wait to get started today.
So, Jimmy, I will do the honors. And joining Jimmy and I today from the University
I'm
of
excited.
Illinois, 16-year NBA veteran and Dallas Mavericks legend, Derek Harper.
I'm here and excited.
How was that, Derek? When's the last time you had an intro like that?
Never. I'm not exaggerating, Brent, but that was fantastic, man. I enjoyed that introduction. I'm happy to be here. I will do anything for Jimmy King. Okay, so if you ever need me, call Jimmy.
My man Harp is so gracious, and that's one of the main things I remember about Harp is that his personality, who he is. You know, he's so open, he's honest, and he speaks his mind, and he's always available. I appreciate you, Harp. Thank you so much from my heart, my brother.
Well,
we are
very welcome.
We are very fortunate to have you on the show today, Derek. And so we're going to jump right into it. We had an incredible season this past year for the Dallas Mavericks, right? Year two, or really the first full year with Kyrie. And, they made that run. They started as the away team, the 5 seed, and they went all the way through, going through the Clippers and the Thunder and the T-Wolves all the way to Boston to fall a little short in the finals. Just tell us about what that experience was like and your thoughts on the season. We love to hear your perspective on this great season by the Mavericks.
You know, it's rare, man, when a number 5 gets to the conference finals and then on to the NBA finals. So clearly some things clicked for this Maverick team. They did a phenomenal job, I think, of meshing together. Nico Harris, Michael Finley, the front office, they pulled the trigger on a trade that I thought was perfect for them as a team. They got size, they got defense. They were able to get develop Lively, if you would, as a player, the young stud from Duke. And they never look back, man. They have 2 of the best offensive players in the league. And you couple that with great defense, guys that can simply defend. Lively had 6, 7 blocks a couple of times this year in the Mavericks uniform. And I think they surprised some people, but not me, because I saw them the second half of the season, and I really felt like they could make some noise, provided they stayed healthy. They did that, and they were right there at the end. All you can do is give yourself a chance. They certainly did that.
And speaking of defense, I know you love that aspect of the game, being a 2-time all-defensive second team in 87 and 90 with the Dallas Mavericks. And in that era, locking down point guards and guards was that's a tall feat, my brother. I remember watching those games as a young pup. And really, I'm somewhat, of a defensive, guy. Nowhere near your caliber, but I remember you with the Mavericks and with the Knicks, particularly locking guards down like you do, and I'm talking about all-time great guards. So
that's right.
Yeah,
shout out to you, my brother. Kudos.
I appreciate it, Jim.
Derek, I have a question in that. Yeah, I have a question for you in that regard, Derek. So one thing that I noticed is as the season was going on and we got into the playoffs, it kind of felt to me like, and I think he said this, Kyrie kind of had that flip switch where it was kind of like, and he said, look, this is Luka's team, and I know what I got to do, and I got to be a dog on defense. And is it that easy for a guy of his caliber? Because you could
Yes.
really see it. He started shutting down. I'm just curious what your perspective is, being such a tenacious defender yourself.
You know, the effort was there and the sacrifice. Very difficult, I think, to shift, and Kyrie was able to do. But, you know, I think the one thing about the NBA, when there's a championship on the line, guys have to play different roles sometimes. And I thought all those guys were willing to sacrifice their offensive game or whatever it was to try and get to where they wanted to get. And that's to win an NBA championship. So kudos to him. Kudos to Luka, who took a lot of flack about his inability to play defense. And the problem is when you're not a good defender or don't have the reputation of being a good defender, you get attacked. Jimmy, you know that. I mean,
Absolutely.
you're going to be exposed if you can't guard. And I thought those guys took on the challenge for the most part during their playoff run. And the problem is Jason Kidd is going to expect it now because he saw it a little bit during the playoffs. So I was impressed with it. I was impressed with them overall as a team. You know, you're talking about two guys combined averaging during the regular season almost 60 points a game. So if you get them defending and doing those kind of things, they're certainly going to be able to march through the playoffs like they did.
That's and you're right, Derek. And this was just a really great season. It kind of all culminated. So one of the things Jimmy and I've been talking about is, can they repeat that? And so moving forward and looking at some of the moves they've made in the offseason, right? Adding Clay, obviously big, adding Quentin Grimes, adding Najee Marshall, losing Tim Hardaway Jr. and Derek Jones Jr. What do you think? Do you think that this is a situation where the Mavs can build on that and they're right in the fold for another? Or that was just kind of a one-off, we kind of had the magic and it's going to be tough sledding moving forward? I mean, what do you think based on the moves they've made in the offseason and where we stand for another run next year?
I really think that they put themselves in position again. I don't want to get carried away because I think the one thing that's a myth is that because you make it to the finals one year, you're automatically going to get back. It doesn't work that way. Injuries can come into play. You know, a new scene may benefit a guy like Clay, Dinwiddie. You talked about Grimes. And let's face it, let's really face this, that in order to go all the way to the finals, you have to be a little lucky too. And I thought the Mavericks got the right kind of breaks during the playoffs. Clay, I love because all he'll have to do is stand around and shoot. And I think it was Nico Harris that said he can still make shots.
That's right.
Be a big asset for the Mavericks. I thought, Jimmy, I don't know what you thought, but they lacked a knockdown guy that could step up and knock down shots. And having Clay is certainly going to feel that. And I just think that they made the right move. Getting a guy like Dinwiddie, who's familiar with the area and the team and the culture of the Mavericks, I think he'll help as well.
Smart moves by the front office, like you said, Nico Harris and my man Finn. You know, it's, you know, basketball guys, have background, played the sport, played the game. Nico, you know, still, you know, plays rec ball here in Plano, you know, ran into him, you know, and Mike Finn, of course, you know,
Did you put it on him, Jimmy?
Oh, well, I watched him play. I was a fan. I was in the stands watching him.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched him play.
You know, I'm always trying to start trouble, Jimmy. You know that.
I know. Oh, I know.
I want to know. Give me the scouting report.
I'll keep those stories between us. Those practices we had with the Mavs back in the day. All I tell is my close friends, because you had me rolling hard. You know, I was just the low man on the totem pole. And Harper, you know, Harp got that big booming voice, and especially in the gym. And we sit over there and practice going sideways, and Harp would just be like, "Hey, what's wrong with these cats in here?" And I'm sitting over here like,
No, yeah.
I'd be like, you see what I'm seeing? I'm like, oh, yeah, I see it, but I can't say
Big
nothing.
time. That's all I can say, Jim. Yeah.
No,
You
but
bring back great
yeah,
memories for me, man. We had a lot of fun back then.
Hey, and
yeah, for sure.
yeah, and guys, and Derek, I got another question for you on this. So I don't want to pop the Mavs, championship parade balloon for next year, but the one thing that I really felt I noticed in the West was there was a lot of young teams this year that were kind of getting their legs in the playoffs, like the Thunder, like the T-Wolves, right? Even there's some teams that are even like the Kings now with some of the moves they've made, right? And so you got to look and go. I was really thinking that this was a good opportunity for the Mavs. They had the vets; they could go on the roll, and I think that it's going to be tough next year because those teams I mentioned are now better, and they've made trades and improvements, like adding Alex Caruso and some of the other things that they've done. Just curious what you think about that, Harp.
I mean, you talk Thunder, and I'm telling you, it's not if, it's when for the Thunder. I mean, their leader obviously is Kid Alexander, and he's, he was second, I think, in MVP voting this past season. But Hartenstein, great addition. You already talked about all the defender in the NBA, so sensational pickups for those guys. And if you think about championship, I mean, you think about trying to be a championship caliber team, part of the process is you have to pay your dues. I mean, Jimmy, you remember when the Bulls and the Pistons used to go at it. The Bulls were trying to get past the Pistons. It just takes time. The more experience you get, the more you go to the well, you're hoping that sooner or later you're going to be able to drink out of the well. And I just think the Western Conference and the East now, based on some of the moves that have taken place, but the West is as tough as it's ever been. I mean, you can't take a night off in the Western Conference. I mean, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, those guys are still in Phoenix. I know they didn't fare well throughout the year, but they will be back. Bradleyville, I mean, they are right there as well. Minnesota, Ant-Man is trying to take over the league, if you would.
Yep.
And it's going to be interesting. It really is. There will be no easy nights in the Western Conference this year when it comes to the NBA.
So Jimmy and Derek, we talked a little Mavs. I want to get into some other basketball news that is going around. I don't know if you guys got to watch, but Team USA, preparing for the Paris Olympics, got a little too close to South Sudan. Not North Sudan, not Sudan, but South Sudan. I didn't even know that was a country. They were up by as many as 16 points and would have pulled off one of the biggest upsets in international history if it weren't for, and Jimmy, by the way, a couple of shows ago, we were talking about who was the number one option for Team USA. And Jimmy, what did I say? With 6 seconds left, the ball didn't go to Ann Edwards. It went to LeBron James. And he went, scored to win 101, win the game by 1 point, 101 to 100. Well, what are did that shock you, that victory, Derek? And were you surprised that it was that close and that Sudan played, or is this just kind of these things happen?
You know what, Brent, listen, I want to hear from my buddy Jimmy because I have my thoughts. And I'll
Jimmy, tell us, bro.
So thanks, Hart. Thanks for throwing me that alley-oop. See, he's the quintessential point guard. He's always dropping the dime. But my thoughts on that game particularly was like, I think that was a shot that was 46 and a half point to point favor. So to win by a couple of points is alarming or shocking, but we're glad to see Team USA pull it out, particularly their leader in LeBron James. I just would love to be in the locker room just to kind of hear, what some of the issues are and why they're not really gelling or playing together and playing at their full potential. From what I can tell and what I see is it looks like, you know, they're overthinking and not just playing. It's it's like they see the play, but then they're looking to make another play, but then they go back to the original play. It's like the timing is just not there. So whatever is going on within that team chemistry, they got to figure that out and unlock it so they can play to the potential we hope they can play.
You know, I listen to Grant Hill quite a bit. He's obviously the guy that put things together for Team USA. And I think he had one of the most difficult jobs there is when it comes to trying to mesh 12 guys together.
Yeah.
And I think we're hard on our guys because we automatically feel like that we're going to go to the Olympics, the trials, and all of those different things and dominate. And it just doesn't work like that, man. I mean, the best team or the best talent going to dominate the way you want them to dominate. And let me throw this in too. We're talking about some tired guys, if you would. I mean, think about how long these guys have been playing basketball from last year, October, to almost October now. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's been 11 months of all basketball. And it's hard, man. If you don't get a break from the game, I know the goal is important. That's the primary job for those guys going overseas to try to bring back a gold medal. But you can't overlook, Jimmy, if you would, how the European game has grown.
Absolutely.
You know, the European game is equally as good. There are a lot of guys that played with Germany, that played with the teams that are overseas, that has had a lot of success in the NBA. And with that being said, they're telling their guys, we got a chance. I mean, look at Team Canada.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? That Team Canada and some of these other guys, and even South Sudan, right? They're loaded with, you know, they've got G League Player of the Year. They've got guys that were drafted in the first round, right, on their team. So I know that we're the dream team, not the dream, but we've got these NBA guys, but then you put them all together against some of these other players, and you're right. It sounds like Jimmy and Derek are saying the same thing, that it becomes difficult to mesh, and especially in such a short time period, and especially, you know, with the tired legs, and they just got off a season and now they're going back into this, and then they're going to have to go right into training camp. It's a lot for them. So I'm going to move along to the next topic, which is, Derek, on the King and Chapman Show, Jimmy and I love to talk women's basketball. And so we have a WNBA topic. And Jimmy, I'll start with you on this one. The WNBA All-Star game was in Phoenix on Saturday, and it drew 3.44 million viewers, Jimmy. The record prior to that was 1.44 20 years ago, and last year's was only 850,000. So they yes, exactly. Money, money, money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stepping it up. They stepping it up.
And
even the public is responding.
And even more so, Jimmy, Team WNBA played against the Olympic team, Team USA, and we know who didn't make the Olympic team, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and they put the hammer down on the USA women's team, and the Team WNBA won pretty handily. And guys, the MVP of the game was Dallas Wings star Arike Ogunbowale, which I don't say.
Yeah, she was fantastic. Yes, sir.
34 points, 8 for 13 shooting threes. So Jimmy, tell us, are you surprised that Team USA lost to the Team WNBA?
I'm not No, I'm not surprised. In games like that, number one, it is an exhibition. They do play hard. It is a competition, but the Team USA, they're looking to, come together in the jail and kind of work out the kinks like we were just discussing with the men's team versus the WNBA, they're getting their game off. It's a little different kind of style in what they're trying to do. So in an exhibition game, I would expect the All-Stars, to come out on top uh and beat them. But as far as the draw and the attention and the attendance and the viewership, that's something that's special that I hope that they could capitalize on and the game continues to grow because I've been a women's basketball fan for a long time. I always tell youth and young kids, if you want to learn the game, watch women's basketball. They don't cheat the game. They play the game fundamentally sound as possible. And
Watch them.
they execute.
Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree.
Derek, I got a question for you on that.
I'm not going to kid you, man. I was a little. No, what I was going to say is I echo the same sentiments that Jimmy threw out there. I mean, the game has changed when you start talking about the WNBA. It's grown. They're making more money. And I think the two people that deserve the credit is CC, Caitlin Clark, and Reese. I mean, let's face it, those kids played against each other in college, right? They went to war in college for 2 years back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that they are the face moving forward of the WNBA. They supposedly don't get along and don't necessarily like each other, but I think it's amazing how sports, in a lot of cases, can bring anybody together. Because for that night, for that All-Star weekend in Phoenix, this past weekend, they came together and simply was a better team. It was fascinating to see, but it's going nowhere, anywhere. It's not going anywhere but up when you start talking about the WNBA. The WNBA, $2 billion, and then Cheryl Miller came back and echoed that it has to start at $5 billion. $5 billion they're talking about for the W. And I think the best is yet to come. When I think about it, I just think that it's going to go skyrocket up right to the top.
I think one thing that I observed, and I hope that this isn't overstepping a sort of two legends, but the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese sort of transformation of basketball feels a lot like, to me, the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird sort of late 70s, right? They battled each other in college. They didn't really like each other. They showed up to the NBA. They were immediate powerhouses, and kind of the game really changed around that time and around them. And that's what this kind of feels like.
It's a good point.
Definitely parallels. Definitely parallel.
I would, Jimmy. Yeah, I would definitely agree with it. Yeah. The only difference is that we're talking women.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference. That's the big difference right there. That we're talking about the women opposed to Larry and Magic Johnson. So that's a great point.
So, gentlemen, moving along to Summer League basketball. I know that's everyone's favorite topic. It just wrapped up last night with a thriller of a game. The Miami Heat beat the Memphis Grizzlies in overtime. Josh Christopher was named MVP of the Summer League. He was a first-round draft pick back in 21 for the Rockets, but he went off 24 points, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks in the Summer League game. So, Derek, you can go first, and Jimmy, you can jump in. I mean, what did you think about Summer League this year? What do you think you guys got out of it? Impressed by the game the other night? just want to hear your thoughts on Summer League and what that bodes for the upcoming NBA season.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I watched the game between Memphis and Miami last night, and the reason I watched it is because the doggone game was too good to walk away from. I mean, if you watch that game, you saw that they went into, and I know Pat Riley very well. There were some guys on that summer league team for Miami that's going to be around. They're going to stick around for the Miami Heat because Pat Riley likes guys that love to play, that play the right way. And you were talking about Christopher. This kid can flat score the basketball. I mean, he has a unique ability, an uncanny ability to put the ball in the hoop. And it was fun to watch. It was really fun to watch. You couldn't have asked for a better game when you look at those two teams competing last night.
And me particularly, just overall, the summer league is for opportunity guys, who've been in the league for 3 years, guys who just walked into the league 3 days ago. They're all on the same court, vying to be seen, vying for playing time, vying for opportunities to sign a contract, to get picked up, whatever the case may be, go overseas. So I appreciate the summer league from a whole that it gives and especially the way that they do it now, being televised and covered, that it gives the kids or the guys, the players, the young men an opportunity to showcase themselves and against high level competition and scratch that itch that we miss so much in the summertime with no basketball. So I think it's a great turn.
Right. That's excellent point. That's an excellent point.
Well, guys, we have one last topic I want to get to. Nate, can you throw up that first picture, the one with all 5 players? So I don't know, Derek, if you play video games, but my son plays video games, both my sons, and I don't know if you're aware of this.
Yeah.
But in NBA 2K, you can pick all-time teams. And the all-time Mavericks have you, Derek Harper, as the 3rd best Maverick of all time, behind Luka and Dirk Nowitzki, and the top point guard ahead of Steve Nash and Jason Kidd and Jason Terry and all those guys. Now, I don't know if you knew that, but I definitely play as Derek Harper when I play.
I hate it.
My man,
hate to be the bearer of bad news.
He was a beast. He's so humble. He's so humble.
Hey, listen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there is no way, can I curse in hell, that they should put me in front of those guys. I'm honored. I'm flabbergasted, all that good stuff. But
CB,
they're going with the old school, man.
That's what humble looks like right there.
He
truly is.
I mean,
Derek,
like I said, I'm honored
in Mavericks history.
I like to think I could. No, I didn't know it. I don't follow this stuff, man. I didn't know that. But I like to think I could hold my own as a player, and I appreciate all of that. You gotta figure though. You're talking about 2 different eras, and as basketball progresses, right, the game changes, the rule changes. 2-time MVP, by the way. So those people were drinking a little bit, but nonetheless, I admire Jason. Jason won a championship, and I admire Steve Nash and what he was able to do. Played against both those guys. And I know firsthand just how good they were as players, even though I'm honored that I was the guy.
I think it's cool, Derek, that they do that and that they mix it up, because what it does is it lets my 13-year-old and my 9-year-old learn who Orlando Blackman is, and learn who who Derek Harper. and they play with them in the video game. I think that's pretty cool, actually, that they do
that's
it.
a good point too. Yeah, I mean, you want to know who Mark Aguirre and Rolando Blackman were for sure, because their games again speaks for themselves. They were dominant before there was dominance in the league.
No doubt. And that squad with Roy Tarpley, y'all were monsters out there.
They were very good.
Killing.
Well,
Yeah.
Derek,
You trying to plug one of those river rings, I see.
Hey, you know I gotta support my guy. Y'all was out there doing it. He was stretching the floor.
Jimmy tried to plug.
He was a stretch floor before they even know what to
Yeah,
call.
good times, man.
Well, Derek, we appreciate you jumping on with us tonight.
Yeah,
and
that was
talking
good times for sure.
Appreciate you hard for sure.
At the end of every show, we do a last word, and I'll let Jimmy go first.
Okay.
Jimmy, what's your last word tonight, Jimmy?
My last word is thank you to the great Derek Harper for gracing our show and telling your side of the greatness, right? Seeing it from your perspective of playing at such a high level for so long. People aspire to do what you've done.
Yes, sir.
And then going from the extension to, TV and doing the things you do in the community. I just want to salute you and shout out to you and thank you so much for being a beacon in our community. Appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that a lot, man. Listen, my last word is that the Mavericks will get back to the finals this year. And I know we just discussed that, but who was it? Ben Crenshaw, when he was captain of the Ryder Cup team, all he said was he has a feeling after they went down during the Ryder Cup. And after the Mavericks got beat by Boston, I just have a feeling Luka, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, the new group, they're going to find their way back there and knock off somebody from the Eastern Conference.
Well, that's what I want to hear.
I'm excited about that, Derek. And what's kind of funny is that actually just happened.
They're going to get back.
Yep. That very thing just happened in the NHL. The Panthers lost, and then they came back the next year, and they had
I knew that.
in their belly to.
Yep. What about you, Brent? I'm anxious to hear what you got.
Word. Yeah. My last word is. Many of you remember. I know we've been saying a lot of nice things about Derek tonight, so I'm going to say one more thing. That's my last thing. I caught an article, Derek. Derek, from about 10 years ago where Gary Payton, who we all know is just one of the Derek already knows where this is going. Gary Payton was asked, who is the toughest player that you ever faced? And he said, in my day, the toughest was Derek Harper. He was tough. He had the most toughest, nastiest game. I hated playing against him because he would always try to rip you, try to talk to you, get in your ear. People just didn't really know that about Derek Harper. I used to hate bringing the ball up against him because he'd just be talking the whole time.
Yeah, Hart. Yeah.
So that's my last word. Derek is not just a great defender.
I remember
the great ones. Tell you, they could tell you what they're going to do to you and still do it. That's why he's one of the great ones. I'm telling you. He used to tell me, he used to be like, young fella, all you want to do is like you catch.
But you know,
count they dribble, and as soon as it leaves their hand, that's a free ball. Blew my mind. I was like, man, I've been playing this game all my life. I never thought of it.
All you want to hear is your peers and what they think about you, right? That's how you judge yourself. So I'm honored, man.
That's right.